Lena Matthews had always considered herself an ordinary woman living an unremarkable life in the quiet suburban town of Oakwood Grove. She worked as a librarian, her days filled with the comforting scent of old books and the gentle rustle of turning pages. Her mousy brown hair was often tied back in a messy bun, and her wire-rimmed glasses perched precariously on her small nose. Lena's life was predictable, safe, and utterly mundane, until the day Emilia Lionheart moved in next door. Emilia arrived on a sweltering summer afternoon, her moving truck kicking up dust in the driveway. Lena watched from behind her curtains as the newcomer emerged from her sleek black SUV. Emilia was striking, tall and athletic, with short-cropped platinum blonde hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She moved with a fluid grace that spoke of strength and confidence. As the days passed, Lena found herself increasingly drawn to her new neighbor. Emilia was charming and friendly, always ready with a warm smile and a witty comment. She regaled the neighborhood with tales of her time in the military, speaking of honor and duty with a passion that left her listeners in awe. Lena, usually shy and reserved, found herself opening up to Emilia, captivated by her charisma and worldliness. But beneath the surface of their budding friendship, something nagged at Lena. It was the way Emilia's eyes would sometimes go cold and distant, as if seeing something far beyond the manicured lawns of Oakwood Grove. It was the muffled sounds of screams that sometimes echoed from Emilia's house in the dead of night, only to be dismissed as night terrors the next day. And it was the locked room in Emilia's basement, its existence casually mentioned but never shown. Lena's curiosity, long dormant, began to stir. Late one night, as she lay awake listening to the distant sounds of distress from next door, she made a decision. She would uncover the truth about Emilia Lionheart, no matter the cost. The investigation began innocently enough. Lena used her librarian skills to dig into public records, searching for any information on Emilia's military service. What she found, or rather, what she didn't find, sent a chill down her spine. There were gaps in Emilia's service record, entire years unaccounted for. And the units she claimed to have served with? They didn't exist. Lena's heart raced as she delved deeper, her fingers flying across her keyboard as she searched through declassified reports and obscure military forums. Slowly, a horrifying picture began to emerge. Whispers of a secret unit, operating outside the bounds of international law. Reports of villages razed, civilians massacred, and prisoners subjected to unspeakable tortures. And at the center of it all, a figure known only as the Butcher of Basra. As Lena pieced together the fragments of Emilia's past, her own world began to unravel. She lost sleep, her nights filled with vivid nightmares of blood-soaked battlefields and screaming victims. During the day, she jumped at every sound, convinced that Emilia somehow knew what she was doing. The friendly waves and casual conversations they shared now felt like a cruel charade, a predator toying with its prey. One evening, as Lena was leaving the library, she noticed a familiar black SUV parked across the street. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw Emilia sitting behind the wheel, those piercing blue eyes fixed directly on her. Lena's heart pounded in her chest as she hurried to her car, fumbling with her keys as her hands shook uncontrollably. As she pulled out of the parking lot, she saw Emilia's SUV slowly begin to follow. The drive home became a nightmare of paranoia and fear. Every red light felt like an eternity, each turn a potential trap. Lena's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, her eyes constantly darting to the rearview mirror where Emilia's SUV loomed like a malevolent shadow. When she finally reached her driveway, Lena nearly fell out of her car in her haste to get inside. Slamming the door behind her, Lena leaned against it, gasping for breath. Her mind raced with terrible possibilities. Did Emilia know what she had discovered? Was she planning to silence Lena before the truth could come out? The thought of what those hands, so casually friendly in their neighborly waves, were truly capable of, made Lena's stomach churn. As the days passed, the cat-and-mouse game intensified. Lena became a prisoner in her own home, jumping at every creak and shadow. She installed new locks, drew the curtains tight, and slept with a kitchen knife under her pillow. But even as she barricaded herself in, she couldn't stop digging. The need to know, to expose the monster hiding in plain sight, consumed her. It was on a stormy night, as rain lashed against her windows and thunder shook the house, that Lena made her fatal mistake. In her feverish search for evidence, she had left a digital trail, a careless click, an unsecured connection, and suddenly her screen went black. When it flickered back to life, a single message appeared. "I know." Panic gripped Lena as she realized the gravity of her situation. She had to run, to get as far away from Oakwood Grove as possible. But as she turned to grab her emergency bag, she froze. There, silhouetted in the doorway, stood Emilia. "Oh, Lena." Emilia's voice was soft, almost sad. "I had such high hopes for our friendship. Why couldn't you just leave well enough alone?" Lena's mouth went dry, her voice a strangled whisper. You're a monster. The things you've done." Emilia stepped into the room, her movements fluid and predatory. In the flashes of lightning, Lena could see the mask of friendliness fall away, replaced by something cold and terrible. "Monster? I prefer to think of myself as a necessary evil. The world isn't as black and white as you'd like to believe, Lena. Sometimes, to protect the many, sacrifices must be made." As Emilia advanced, Lena's survival instincts kicked in. She lunged for the knife under her pillow, but Emilia was faster. With a movement too quick to follow, she disarmed Lena and pinned her against the wall, one hand wrapped around her throat. "You know," Emilia mused, her grip tightening, "in another life, we could have been great friends. You have a curiosity, a drive that I admire. It's almost a shame to snuff it out." Lena clawed at Emilia's hand, gasping for air. Her vision began to darken at the edges as Emilia leaned in close, her breath hot against Lena's ear. "But don't worry," Emilia whispered. "I'll make sure your death serves a purpose. After all, what better way to maintain my cover than to be the grieving friend who finds her neighbor's body?" With a sickening crack, Emilia snapped Lena's neck. As life faded from Lena's eyes, her last thought was of the terrible irony. In her quest to expose a monster, she had instead given it the perfect hiding place. In the days that followed, Oakwood Grove was rocked by the tragic murder of Lena Matthews. The community rallied around Emilia Lionheart, the brave war veteran who had discovered her friend's body and was now spearheading efforts to find the killer. As candlelight vigils were held and tears were shed, Emilia stood at the center of it all, playing the role of the grieving friend to perfection. And in the basement of her house, behind a locked door that would never be opened, a new trophy joined the others, a pair of wire-rimmed glasses, cracked and spattered with blood, a silent testament to the cost of curiosity and the darkness that lurks behind the most charming of smiles.